He called me unprepared, fired me with the same greasy fingers clutching the prototype I spent a decade perfecting. The Garden Project. 10 years of work, smeared with his smug little fingerprints and a laugh that bounced around the conference room like a curse whispered in a cathedral. But let's roll the tape back, just 24 hours, give or take a betrayal. Friday, 8:42 a.m. The office glowed its usual sickly fluorescent. I was running on 3 hours of sleep and the remains of a questionable vending machine quiche. Slumped over my keyboard like some lab-bound troll, my frizzed-out hair resembled a dandelion mid-breakdown. Another ping. Calendar invite. Kyle again. Optional materials pitch, complete with a cheery little smiley face. I glared at that notification like it had personally wronged me. Kyle, age 35. Tight pants. Tighter ego. 6 months as my boss and already a masterclass in buzzword butchery. Synergy pipeline. Holistic bandwidth. The man used scale as a verb. When the company restructured, I got bumped from senior project lead to glorified shadow. They called it temporary, like bad weather or dictatorships. So I kept quiet. Developed something new. Alone. A polymer, lightweight, self-healing, thermally adaptive under minimal voltage. Sounds dry? To infrastructure developers, it's skyscraper Viagra. And I told no one. Not because I'm paranoid, because I'm seasoned. Women like me, mid-40s, quiet, deadpan, we don't get credit, we get erased. Every brainstorm ends up on someone else's LinkedIn carousel. But someone tipped him off. Maybe an intern with loose lips. Suddenly, Kyle's dragging me into some dog and pony pitch. Said it would be great visibility. I should have told him a colonoscopy's also very revealing. Quick pause, real talk, 97% of folks hearing this haven't subscribed. That's wild. We're here bleeding over these mic cords, living off store-brand toaster pastries, and hoping the Wi-Fi holds. So smash that like button. Subscribe. Help us keep the lights flickering and the stories pouring like wine at a custody hearing. Back to the bloodbath. I walk into the boardroom, Kyle's already cued his slides. My presentation, butchered. My data. Replaced with Shutterstock engineers and captions in Comic Sans. The future is light, one of them read. I nearly chewed through my lanyard. He started the pitch with, Marcy's been cooking up something cool. It's early, real scrappy, but hey, we're friends here. Winked at the CTO. Then he tried to stumble through the lattice framework, voltage response curves, until Kyle kept butting in. Can you dumb it down? Don't bore them with numbers. He made a crack about me being the wizard, not a talker. One of the execs fake laughed. When I reached for the demo file, gone. Moved. Kyle shrugged, all wide-eyed innocence. Guess someone forgot to prep. I wanted to scream. Afterward, he leaned in, all performative pity. Don't take it personal. Some people are great in the lab, not in the spotlight. Then he handed me a white envelope. Cold. Efficient. No warning. No severance. Just 2 HR signatures and effective immediately. I walked out like a ghost in a shell, envelope radioactive in my hands. My desk was already boxed. Someone even packed my cactus. Outside, I sat in my car, furthest spot in the lot. Asphalt cracked like skin in winter. I shook so bad the keys trembled in the ignition. Then I saw it, glove box open from the morning. Inside? The patent. Folded, notarized. Filed under Marcia L. Greer. 100% ownership. Mine. I wasn't unprepared. He was. He never even clicked his remote. just grinned like a game show host with a secret. His version of the deck was all clip art and cliches. 10 slides of fluff. One even had a woman in a hard hat who looked like she moonlighted as printer ink. "She's been working on something neat," he said, like I was a toddler showing off macaroni art. "Very next gen, smart. Eco-aware." I stood there stunned. My real slides, the ones with voltage scalability, thermal tests, live lattice modeling, gone. The execs nodded, vacant. Polo shirts and Fitbits. They looked like synchronized iguanas. I tried to speak. "Originally Kyle cut in. She's not used to presenting." Then he sidestepped in front of me like I was a ficus. "She's the genius. I just help give it legs." Legs. He called himself the legs. I felt my stomach invert. My hands. Ice. Rage does that. Some people get fire. I get Arctic fingers. I opened my mouth again, to explain the actual math behind the tech. Kyle cut me off. "Let's not get stuck in equations," he said. "What matters is the vision." Then a slide popped up. One word. Disruption. All caps. No shame. "We're talking responsive, lightweight tech for the modern city. Right?" He glanced at me for a nod like I was his assistant. I nodded. Couldn't even feel my jaw. Then came the line, the one still echoing in my skull like bleach-soaked tinnitus. "She wasn't quite prepared today, but we're excited to build this as a team." "Right, Marcy?" I wanted to disappear. They nodded. One exec checked his Apple Watch. Another guy yawned. Someone grabbed a second Fiji water. Afterward, Kyle patted my back like I'd just survived a funeral. "Tough room, huh?" he smirked. "You ambushed me," I managed. "Exposure," he replied. "We're not in the lab anymore." Then the envelope. Plain white. "You're letting me go?" I asked, half aware. He nodded. Not a great culture fit. No hard feelings. No hard feelings. Like I should thank him for the life lesson. I didn't cry. Not yet. Just walked past the pity-eyed receptionist. Out through the slammed doors that sounded like divine punishment. In my car, silence. No music. Just the envelope in my lap, my fingers gripping the wheel like a lifeline. And inside me, something finally snapped. No sound, but I felt it, like a tendon gone taut and torn. I sat still. Breathing. Blinking. Existing in that dull, gutted way grief makes you. The heat climbed in the car. I didn't turn on the ignition. Just watched the sun move across the windshield, catching on the thin layer of dust I never had time to clean. I stared at that envelope, flimsy symbol of dismissal. Signed by Becky from HR. The one who asked if polymers were the things in yoga mats. I tore it in half. Then again. And again. 16 pieces. My fists full of corporate snowflakes. And I broke. Ugly sobbing. Gasping. That childhood panic kind of cry. Was I truly unprepared? Or had I just spent so long building something I forgot how this world operates? Had I become some burnout lab relic clinging to a dead role in a company that stopped seeing me years ago? I thought about calling my sister. She'd tell me they never deserved me. But she wouldn't mean it. She'd just be trying to pull me out of the freefall. And I didn't want comfort. Not then. All I wanted was one more damn day. Just 24 hours to show them this wasn't science fiction, it was real. But the universe has its own timing. When I hit that cratered patch in the parking lot, the glove box popped open with a creak. I barely noticed it at first, my hand reaching to slam it shut out of habit, until I saw the edge of the manila folder. My body moved before my brain caught up. I pulled it out like a relic, reverent. Application No. 62/948-770. Composite polymeric material with adaptive microstructures. Filed under Marcia L. Greer. Status: patented. Approved. Notarized. Sealed. Legally and completely mine. My heart didn't pound. It just paused, stilled, in the haze of layoffs and deadlines. I'd forgotten I even filed it. Nearly a year ago. Back when I first felt the shift in the air, the new VP with his country club handshake and blockchain buzzwords sniffing around like a wolf casing the pen. I'd done what they never see coming. What quiet, serious women are never expected to do. I planned ahead. I'd been ready. Still crying, I leaned back in the car seat. But under the grief, something new began to swell, like steel pressing through wet clay. I wiped my face with an old Wendy's napkin, tossed it to the floor, and stared at the patent folder like it owed me an apology. They thought they'd kick me out with a smirk, but they didn't know I'd already set the dynamite. The spark was already on its way to the powder. That night, I didn't sleep. I unraveled. Peeled off the grief like it was a suffocating second skin and dumped it in the trash with stale takeout and old ambitions. At 1:17 a.m., I sat at my kitchen table, hoodie on, laptop open, staring down that rusty Dell like it was a launch console. First task. Incorporation. I reached into the junk drawer and pulled out my dad's old legal pad, still stained with coffee rings and the back of an old NASCAR bracket. I didn't want a name that screamed revenge. I wanted one that whispered certainty. Inevitability. I wrote down HG Materials LLC, my father's initials. Home address? Mine. If anyone traced it, let them think it was just some backyard pet project. Let Kyle's ferret-sniffing instincts go wild. I wasn't leaving him a single breadcrumb. I filed the paperwork online, paid the registration fee, and watched the confirmation email blink into my inbox like a pulse returning to the dead. Next, I grabbed a dusty old binder labeled Future Hires, something I'd made back when I still had faith in ethical scaling. Scanned through the tabs of former interns I'd trained, defended, supported, when management called them unpolished. Two names jumped out like neon on blackout glass: Jules, a procurement specialist now knee-deep in the city's infrastructure bidding contracts. Tommy, former junior engineer, now with Metro Phase 5's urban planning division. I hadn't talked to them in years. But they owed me. One had literally wept on my carpet during his exit interview. I typed out a message: need to meet. You owe me. Trust me, it's worth it. No backstory. No pitch. Just the ask. Both replied within an hour. By 3:30 a.m., I had a temporary domain, a new email, a locked Dropbox folder named Veritas, filled with every doc I'd ever written, and a short list of contractors who'd bailed on Kyle's firm over the years. The raw fury had cooled. Now it was strategy. Clean, cold. By 6:15, the coffee pot was hissing. I stood barefoot in the kitchen, blueprint paper unrolled across the table like a battle map. I'd snagged it from the office months ago, back when they made noise about going paperless. I started outlining the timeline. Week 1, identify key contractors. Week 2, set private meetings. Week 3, demo the prototype. No PR fluff. No business partners. Just science. Just me. The silent detonation waiting to go off. In the corner of the sheet, I drew a small circle. Inside, I wrote one word: reclaim. I underlined it twice. Your body shouldn't be able to run on gas station caffeine, expired protein bars, and vengeance, but somehow, mine did. I pulled my first all-nighter not out of panic, but precision. Fueled by rage, stale peanut M&Ms, and a Spotify playlist called Kill Mode. Around 3 a.m., the hallucinations began. My dad's old recliner creaked like it was offering approval. My cat Muffin stared from the counter like she'd just watched a felony. Didn't matter. I rewrote the pitch deck like scripture. By sunrise, I had 10 clean slides, no clip art, no Comic Sans, no trendy buzzwords. Just science, data, performance. I trimmed a decade of breakthroughs into a 6-page white paper with stress simulations, life cycle modeling, and an ROI curve that would make a CFO cry. Then I cobbled together a bare-bones demo site. Free HTML template, ancient code from a college class in '98. It looked rough. But it worked like a charm: CAD flithroughs, dynamic load rendering, stress response modeling. No flair, all function. By noon, I was sitting in a Panera parking lot like a covert agent with stolen tech. Jules slid into the passenger seat, still rocking her work badge. "You look like hell," she muttered. "What's this about?" I handed her the tablet. "I built a material that could change the face of urban infrastructure," I said. "And they fired me. Kyle's trying to claim it." She scrolled for 30 seconds, then whispered, "Jesus, this is cleaner than anything I've seen from the firm in years." I met her eyes. "Get me 5 minutes with the city contractor." She let out a long breath. "I'll try, but you better melt faces." 5 hours later, I was drinking lukewarm tea outside City Works HQ, waiting for Tommy. He showed up rumpled, stunned, like an old student seeing a ghost. He didn't even say hi, just swiped me in through a side door. No questions. The meeting room smelled like dust and broken ambition. I delivered my pitch like a medical diagnosis. Precise, clinical. Gave him a printout of the white paper, a QR code to the demo. He sat there, mouth tight, eyes scanning. 5 minutes later, "We've been looking for this." Then, "Can you show a live demo?" I nodded. "Give me 48 hours. That night, back in my garage, I broke down the prototype. Rebuilt it from scratch. Twice. Skipped food. Forgot to use the bathroom. Hands locked up so badly, I had to ice them between tweaks. And while I worked, Kyle was out doing his little dance. Word leaked through Jules, he was already teasing smart mesh to the same city contractor. But here's the thing, he didn't have the prototype. He didn't even have real data. Just scraps. Maybe screenshots. Maybe old printouts. He was pitching an empty frame. I was about to bring the heartbeat. At 3:17 a.m., it happened. The prototype held under load test. No flicker. No collapse. I slid down to the cold floor, arms spread, concrete biting my spine like truth. This wasn't a pivot anymore. This was war. The message came at 7:04 a.m. as I poured expired cereal into a bowl. "Jules, heads up. They're trying to claim IP. Quiet internal memo. Kyle's naming the mesh project company property." I didn't reply. Just stared at the bowl until it turned to paste. Dumped it in the sink. Turned on the kettle. Business as usual. Then I logged into the company's internal portal, my credentials somehow still active, bless their incompetence, and found the memo. Subject, Emerging IP Asset. Project, Smart Mesh Initiative. Description, Early Stage Material, formerly under MG, reassigned to Department Head KB for refinement and corporate presentation. No names. No dates. Just enough vague language to imply they'd fostered this miracle like it was their foundling child. Kyle thought he could patchwork my tech into something real. That he could dress the corpse with corporate buzzwords and no one would smell the rot. Then Tommy called. No greeting. Just, did you know Kyle's meeting the contractor at 10 a.m. Thursday? That gave me 36 hours. The exact window I'd promised. He kept talking, nervous. His decks vague. No hard data. Honestly, I think Kyle really believes he's already won. I didn't react. Let him believe he'd won, because this wasn't just about stealing. It was ego, burning hot. He had combed through the company's shared drive and found an old concept doc of mine, dated, rough, and intentionally laced with traps. I'd left in voltage tests that failed above 3V. Thermal models that ignored microfracture risks. The whole thing was a digital booby trap, meant to implode if misused. I wanted someone arrogant enough to take the bait. And Kyle? He was a corporate seagull, greedy and loud. By midday, I had confirmation. They were name-dropping my terms, quoting my framework, even using visuals from a long-shelved mock-up I designed for an abandoned TEGS proposal. What they didn't have? The working prototype, the mathematical integrity, or the patent. I retrieved the real files from my offline vault, encrypted my backups, and prepped a legal packet with notarized proof from my IP lawyer verifying sole ownership and original filing dates. No one was going to erase me from my own legacy. I knew the corporate playbook inside out. But this time, I was rewriting it, page 1 to the back cover. I pulled into the contractor's parking lot at 8:56 a.m., precise as a scalpel. The prototype was in my trunk. Legal documents in my satchel. My bloodstream ran on equal parts coffee and righteous fury. Their headquarters was a monument to gray arrogance, brutalist concrete, mirrored windows, and a miserable metal sculpture that looked like it regretted its existence. I walked in like I owned the place, because, in a way, I did. The receptionist recognized me. Jules had already cleared my entry. A security badge was waiting, black letters spelling out only one name, Marcia L. Greer. No company. No job title. Just me. The elevator ride to the 10th floor felt like the air before a thunderstorm. My pulse was somewhere between a funeral march and a liberation anthem. In the executive suite, 3 were waiting, the contractor's rep, stern and weathered like river stone. Their lead engineer, scribbling furiously before I even sat down. And a legal counsel, sharp-bunned, clutching a BlackBerry like time hadn't moved since 2009. Let's begin, Stoneface said. No speech. I handed over the documents. Patent. Prototype. Manufacturing specs. A USB drive with encrypted data. A QR code to my private demo portal. Then, silently, I placed the prototype on the table. Sleek. Silent. Alive with potential. I flipped the switch. The material activated, flexing under simulated stress on the adjacent screen, shifting and hardening in real time. The scribbling stopped. Legal flipped pages. Stoneface leaned back, fingers steepled, contemplative. Judgment without words. 15 minutes in, legal said, all documentation checks out. Ownership is hers. Timeline holds. The company's claim ends post-termination. The engineer added, this outperforms anything your old firm has pitched. More efficient. Smarter. Stoneface simply said, cancel the 10:30. His assistant was already on the phone. Yes, cancel Kyle's meeting. No, do not reschedule. No fireworks. No shouting. Just quiet removal. One empire politely folding to make room for something better. I sat calmly, hands folded like someone attending her ex's wedding just to critique the catering. Inside, adrenaline roared. They got it. They believed it. And Kyle? He was about to walk into a locked room with nothing but a plagiarized fantasy and my old bait files. My work didn't whisper, it roared. The ink was still drying when the contractor pushed over the contract, $25 million flat for licensing and Phase 1 development. Full rights stayed with my LLC. I didn't blink. I signed. Marcia L. Greer, owner, HG Materials LLC, my hand steady as a surgeon's. Legal flipped the final page. Optional disclosure clause. You control the announcement timing. It was a velvet-wrapped bomb. I waited exactly 2 days, just long enough for Kyle's firm to trap itself in its own lie. Thursday morning, they dropped a newsletter and a press release bragging about a near-finalized deal. Internal innovation success, it said. Kyle's name was featured. Mine wasn't. Just a smiling photo of him posing like a kid who found a bazooka under the Christmas tree. Meanwhile, my prototype was already secured in the contractor's lab. They didn't want a whisper campaign, they wanted fireworks. So I gave them one. Friday, 9:01 a.m., my press release dropped like a bomb. HG Materials LLC signs $25 million smart mesh deal. Engineer Marcia Greer's invention poised to transform adaptive infrastructure. My name. My firm. My garage shot photo framed by the soft glow of my creation. My face. Quiet, determined, daring them to come for round 2. By noon, 3 major industry blogs picked it up. By 3 p.m., my inbox was melting, investors, interviewers, backstabbing execs suddenly eager to connect. I ignored every single one. None of it mattered. Until 5:47 p.m., when a friend in internal ops sent me a link. Evening News, Segment 3, Deal Collapses at Braytech, CEO Caught in IP Scandal. Records show the tech wasn't developed in-house. Ownership confirmed under former employee Marcia Greer. The footage cut to Kyle outside HQ, dodging questions, ducking into a black car. His face looked drained, like he just realized the cheese he stole was electrified. I watched from my kitchen table, sipping gas station wine from a chipped mug that read World's Most Average Boss. I didn't gloat. I didn't toast. But I did smile once, the kind of smile that makes the devil fold his hand and walk away. Kyle's resignation email hit inboxes like dead weight. After reflection, I've chosen to pursue new opportunities. I'm proud of our work, especially in material innovation. Still couldn't say my name. Inside Braytech, panic. Their Q3 forecast was torched. Stock price nosedived. Investors bailed. HR launched a compliance audit, code for cover your tracks before the bleeding becomes public. And Kyle? Gone. No send-off. No farewell post. Just a box of shattered ego and a Bluetooth headset hitting the floor on his way out. They tried to spin it, strategic leadership shift. Someone even posted a LinkedIn tribute under a banner that read "Think Bigger." I nearly choked on my toast. Meanwhile, my inbox overflowed, municipal contracts, venture funds, media sharks. Everyone wanted a slice of the scrappy innovator who walked away from corporate and torched it on her way out. But I didn't chase the spotlight. I didn't respond. I didn't have to. I'd already won. My prototype, mine, now hung in a controlled environment outside Dayton. 6 engineers studied it like it was divine scripture. They didn't know the woman sipping coffee on a porch wrapped in flannel had conjured the whole thing out of grief and steel and stubborn fire. The sun hit the garage just right, casting everything in gold. My cat curled at my feet. I just sat there, warm, silent, and smiling. ChatGPT said. The coffee was sharp. The silence was well-earned. I wasn't craving headlines or applause, just the comfort of stillness, finally loud enough to drown out Kyle's echo for good. What stuck with me most wasn't the revenge, it was the discipline. Marcy didn't explode. She calculated. And truthfully, that kind of steady, surgical power is the most terrifying in a world obsessed with flash over depth. Thanks for riding this one out with me, you stubborn legends. Hit that subscribe button, or this relic might just spark another glorious disaster.